The Earth already reacts strongly to small changes in the amount of CO2, methane, and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Emissions of these gases must be reduced until the whole system back in balance again. But the question is, can we achieve? So how well prepared are we to make net zero emission possible? So in many sectors of the economy, technologies exist that can bring emission to zero, such as in electricity efficiency, for instance. According to the International Energy Agency, IEA, in 2017, it could reduce global electric demand by more than 20% based on current rates in the US power sector, while maintaining high levels of service such as heating and lighting, and it also keep operating existing nuclear plants can be done using renewable nuclear generation. A transport system that runs on electricity or hydrogen, well-insulated homes and industrial processes based on electricity can also reduce the emissions that contribute to climate change and smoke, improving public health and reducing ecological damage rather than gas, can all help to bring sectoral emission to almost zero. By 2050, the government is doing what it promised to do. Under the 2016 Paris Climate Agreement, almost 200 countries pledged to work together to keep global warming in check. The agreement seeks to keep the temperatures to 1.5 degrees, or at the very least to well below 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. But at the other side, unfortunately, we still have many problems to make it possible. The solution to a global collective action problem requires global cooperation. But then, this cooperation has traditionally been hard to master, and it is easy to see why. So, Western powers built their hegemony on industrialization and its accompanying carbon emissions. Still developing nations are contributing the most to projected greenhouse gas emissions, and that includes the world's largest emitter, China. Developing nations do not want to forego the benefits of industrialization that Western powers have already reaped. But the idea that China and other rapidly growing nations would not have an equal burden is a non-starter for the United States. And then, Philip Rossetti, a former director of energy and that specialist, said that attempts at a more inclusive treaty, the Paris Agreement, have failed to get enough concession to reach any climate targets. But here's one of the biggest problems. So these minuscule benefits do not come free. Quite the contrary, the cost of the Paris Climate Pact is likely to run to $1 to $2 trillion every year. It's based on estimates produced by the Stanford Energy Modeling Forum and the Asia Modeling Exercise. In other words, we will spend at least $100 trillion in order to reduce the temperature by the end of the century by a grand total of 0.3 of 1 degree. Yesterday I read an article saying that some Paris Agreement supporters defended by claiming that its real impact on temperatures will be much more significant than the UN model predict. But this requires mental gymnastics and heroic assumptions, fortunately. The Climate Action Tracker, widely cited by a reduction of 1.6 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century, but this prediction is based very heavily on the assumption that even stronger climate policies will be adopted in the future. Actually, 98% of the assumed reduction will come only after 2030, which is what the current Paris Agreement covers. And even such wishful thinking won't achieve anything close to the 2 degrees Celsius reduction that has become the somewhat arbitrary but widely adopted benchmark to avoid the worst effects of global warming. The actual promised emission reduction under the Paris Agreement literally get us just 1% of the way to the 2 degrees target. As we know, climate change is fundamentally a global collective action problem. So each country has the incentive to let the others make the painful cuts while reaping the benefits at home of emitting greenhouse gases. Put another way, the domestic benefit of carbon emitting activities outweigh the costs. Since the costs are global, the problem is the classic resource dilemma. Compounding the challenge is that much of the growth driving energy consumption is fundamentally good. Global poverty and the troubles that come with it have been on a sharp decline, thanks almost entirely to competitive market fueled largely by carbon-intensive energy sources. A policy of constraining growth, as proponents of the growth movement advocate, is a veneer for an ugly philosophy that will deny many of the world's poorest the opportunity for a better life. So, long short story, we are not ready yet to make net zero emissions. There are many problems that our leaders have to solve first before they can finally point out our future to the next step, the net zero emission. However, it may already be too late to say that we should desire to leave behind a better planet for our next generation, but there is still time to say that we should desire to leave behind a slightly less ruined planet for our next generation. The time to build our awareness and acceptance of this pressing issue and then act upon it